Yeah. So, well, we want to welcome everybody to our county commission meeting, and we also want to excuse our chairman who is in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love right now. Anyway, we'd like to excuse him, and hopefully we won't mess it up too much as we get started here. We're honored today to start off with an invocation by Pastor Joe Doherty from the New Promise Lutheran Church. And after our invocation, then Richard Armstrong from the Dixie High School Junior ROTC is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for being here.
It's a privilege to be here. Let's pray. Gracious God, thank you for the governing authorities here in Washington County and for the work that you have called them to here. Lord, we ask you to equip them for this calling. Give them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues they face. Help them to understand the gravity of the needs in our communities, in our county. Give them a keen thirst for justice and fairness in the decisions they make. Give them a spirit of cooperation to work together with others in our community to promote a spirit of harmony. This we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I was telling the pastor before we started just how much I appreciate the Interfaith Council coming to lead us in prayer, and also ROTC and our veteran groups for leading us in the pledge. It's always my favorite part of the meeting. So, well, thank you. Today we start off like every commission meeting with our consent agenda. The consent agenda is a means of expediting routine matters which come before the commission for approval. The consent portion of the agenda is approved by one non-debatable motion. If any commissioner wishes to remove an item from the consent portion of the agenda, that item becomes the first order of business on the regular agenda.
I can't see anything that needs to be removed or separately treated. I move that we approve the consent agenda as outlined, items A through F.
And I will second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Item 1, consideration of purchase request and ratifications of purchase request. Ray.
All right. The first one we have is for emergency services. It's for some covert armor that is certified, and that is going to be a regional asset, so it'll be distributed to the entities that need it. And that's a total of $34,352. The second is for a compact wheel loader for Legacy Park. The total for the loader is $83,900, but we are getting a trade-in value of $25,500, which makes our total $58,400.
What are we compacting out there? Usually we're trying to make things more fluffy and less. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
He's talking about the good stuff.
The good stuff. Makes the plants grow.
Right.
So.
The next few are for tourism. The first one is for a German co-op marketing campaign. It was for lit billboards all over Germany for a winter ski co-op campaign. The next one is for the trail systems marketing. Oh, sorry, I forgot the total of the first one. The German co-op marketing campaign was $15,000. And then moving on again to the trail systems marketing, it's a total of $34,000.
Is that for the app development? Marketing trails. Okay.
The total for that one is $34,844.42. And the last one is for production of 3 videos. And the 3 videos are 2 for the Ironman and a revised St. George Marathon video. And that's a total of $15,500. And the final one is a ratification. What had happened here is we thought we had spent all the money we needed to spend, but we wound up with an extra $31,000 that we didn't know we had. So in order to take advantage of this $31,000, it expired yesterday. We tried to rectify this last week and spend the money, and that's why we needed to ratify a portion, which is the $35,292.51, which is the down payment for the Middle Pinto Bridge, and then the remaining amount that still needs to be paid, $70,584.82.
Very good.
Unless there's any questions.
I'll be excited to
have.
get that Pinto Bridge done because we've been talking about it for
I think it's exceptional that
a
a
long time.
timber bridge built in 1950 was up until recently still usable, so.
Yeah, it is still usable until further.
Adjustment.
Until they put the new one in.
Yeah.
I move that we approve those items for requisition.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 2, consideration of the proclamation number 2019-8, a proclamation recognizing April 2nd, 2019 as National Service Recognition Day in Washington County.
Chair, I would like to read this recognition proclamation for the record. Dated April 2nd, 2019, whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges. Perhaps I'm not the one to read, but I'm trying. And whereas the nation's counties are increasingly turning to service organized by AmeriCorps and Senior Corps, which is national service, and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet county needs, and whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants address the most pressing challenges facing our communities, from educating students for the jobs of the 21st century and supporting veterans and military families to provide health services and helping communities recover from natural disasters. And whereas national service expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants serve in more than 50,000 locations across the country, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our economic and social well-being. And whereas national service participants increase the impact of the organizations they serve, both through their direct service and by managing millions of additional volunteers. And whereas national service participants demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to service, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors. Finally, whereas the Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with county officials nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with the National Association of Counties and county officials across the country for the County Recognition Day for National Service that occurred on April 3rd, 2018 prior. Therefore, be it resolved that the County Commission of Washington County, Utah does hereby proclaim April 2nd, 2019 as National Service Recognition Day, and encourages residents to recognize the positive impact of national service in our county, to thank those who have served, and to find ways to give back to their communities. And it calls for our vote of recognition.
Is that your motion?
And I make that motion to recognize this vital part of our community, our National Service Recognition Day.
And I will second that. And I'll just say, I mean, I know this this proclamation is something that is given to the county, and we're asked to set aside this day, but we have a wonderful spirit of service that exists every day in this county. So I second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 3, consideration of ordinance 2019-1133-0, an ordinance establishing a temporary moratorium on permitting rural recreation grounds and facilities. Scott Nessel? Oh, did I tell you I wasn't going to call you up, but yeah, I would like you to come on. Sorry. Don't listen to what I say, just
Do what I ask.
sorry.
No, you're fine. So the discussion has been with just the popularity of the rural recreation grounds and facilities and camping and outdoor recreation in the county. The term rural recreation ground was created a couple of years ago because we didn't have anything on the books that allowed any of that.
Yeah.
So we created the definition, but there wasn't much in place as far as guidelines. Kind of wanted to see what happened out there. With the popularity and the demand, there is a need to look at our ordinances and see what type of regulations we want to put in place. Additional criterias, improvements that we may need. And so we're taking a look at a bunch of ordinances, but one of the big ones is the rural recreation ground definition.
And because of the demand and kind of, I don't want to say vagueness, but we just want to take a look at it because of, and kind of maybe give it a little bit more structure, have kind of some work meetings and some discussions with Scott and the Planning Commission. And this is one of the reasons I'll be voting for this motion, is just to kind of push pause. But we're not going to do away with this at all. There is a need for it, but we just need to kind of set some parameters.
Yeah, we have a huge issue countywide with people camping in places that it's not appropriate. And so it's finding the balance with where can we allow people to camp, and there's a lot of different types of camping out there and ways to recreate. And so where's it appropriate and how do we facilitate appropriate?
And when does it go from this, which is usually a conditional use permit, to a zone change and a commercial activity out in the county? So those are kind of some of the questions that I would like to define a little bit during this moratorium. But this will be temporary in my book, in my thought process.
Yeah, the hope is that we don't want to rush anything, but it's impossible to make a perfect code. And so we'll make adjustments and see what we feel is appropriate. And if it needs adjusted again, it seems like pendulums swing, and maybe they'll swing too far one way and we need to bring it back again. It's just kind of the nature of ordinances and codes.
Well, and your prior work and that of prior commissions was a first step. And sometimes anytime you create a new code, it opens a door, and then you see what comes through the door. And sometimes you're saying, well, that's not what we intended, or at least we wanted to define that a little bit closer. And that this gives us some time to do that.
Yes.
Commissioners, just logistically, a couple of things. The way that a temporary moratorium works is that it can be no longer than 6 months in length. This is written, it would expire at 6 months, or as soon as you guys either say, hey, we're done considering this, we're happy with what we have, or here's the proposed changes. And then the moratorium just naturally goes away.
Yes.
It only impacts new applicants. So if anybody has an application in and that hasn't worked its way through the process yet, this moratorium doesn't affect those at all. But anybody who doesn't have an application in would be prevented from turning that in while the moratorium's.
And I think that's fair.
Yep.
So,
well, I make that motion that we approve the temporary moratorium on the permitting of rural recreation grounds and facilities.
and I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you, Scott. Item 4, consideration of resolution R-2019-2448, a resolution approving license and service agreement between GeoPlaint LLC and Washington County. Jason, Pete?
Good afternoon. This is it's a program that we've used in the past. The program that we used before was by the company of Orion, and they're a damage assessment tool that we use.
Okay.
And we use it a lot during the Darren Valley floods, and we found some serious flaws in the program that we used. It inflated damage amounts, and it really caused some problems for us. So we reached out to them, tried to work out some solutions for that. We weren't able to get to that, so we looked at some other solutions. One of these being this company, which we actually call Crisis Track, and they've made some changes actually to their program to fit our needs to be able to do that. One of them being the ability to import our information from the assessor's office as it sits, which cuts down a lot of time on us, and then also the ability to get down to more information from those damaged properties that help us out a lot. So that's kind of what that is.
Great. Straightforward.
No doubt. We appreciate that, Jason. I don't have any questions on the need of it and the improvement. So I move that we approve the service agreement between, I want to say Geopliant LLC and Washington County.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 5 is consideration of resolution R-2019-2449, a resolution appropriating expenditures of funds collected as Washington County's share of recreation, arts, and parks sales tax. And I'll speak to this motion. As a lot of people know, about 3 years ago, we passed what's known as the RAP tax. That was proportioned by population, point of sale, and the county receives a certain amount back for the parks and recreation. And we have asked different neighborhoods in our community to give recommendations back to us. Nicole has done a fantastic job at compiling those and making recommendations back to us to approve. We've reviewed these. Any thoughts on this?
Well, we've reviewed them all, and we've been talking about some that we're not quite ready to move forward on. What would be appropriate at this time, Eric, to approve the list, or is that what we're, obviously there's some that we feel 100% wrap around and are perfect.
So I think that you're pretty free on what you'd like to do. You could ask the whole entire thing be tabled until you guys figure everything out. You could make a motion to approve specific items and leave those other ones for a later date.
I think, Nicole, you've made the list as far as what we're going to approve. My only thought process in the motion was just to make a small amendment to it, that we would ask our Public Works Department to work with the different applicants to make sure that the construction deadlines were met, and also to kind of review a master plan. In other words, if we're going to put a bathroom somewhere, you know, what's the next step? Are we going to put a basketball court there the next year? Just a little bit more making sure that we're guiding these projects so that they turn into real assets in the neighborhood.
Yes, and on those, because we were going to have Public Works kind of step in to help the different communities to make sure that that there wasn't anything that we could do to help, you know, defray costs and things like that. On those ones, I did just say up to their top amount. So I think we're pretty safe if you're comfortable with still putting a motion together to say that you approve it, because it's not that on those, it's not a specific dollar figure. It's up to that amount. So I kind of left it open-ended so that we could kind of explore those three.
And it won't apply to everybody. For example,
No.
Silver Reef,
No.
you know, Public Works won't need to be involved there, but
It was specifically Diamond Valley, New Harmony, and Bayo.
okay.
Those are the three. We'll do a little more inspection and review.
Yeah, we just asked Public Works to reach out to them and just make sure that.
They have some pretty big ticket items, so I think it would be in our best interest to just make sure that we can help them any way that we can, and then kind of know what our future for the RAP tax looks like, so that we can be diligent on our end as well.
And the great thing is Ron Whitehead always likes it when I volunteer him for additional workload.
I may have been texting him that.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because a lot of projects are expensive and the RAP tax just can't cover everything.
Yeah.
But if it can help them get it kick-started into a bigger picture, I think we're on board there.
Yeah.
So the motion would be to approve this list with the exception of the 3 items we said up to. And so do you want me to name them or just have it entered into the record?
So
Either way.
which way?
I think let's approve the list, but
Yeah.
3 that I'll mention specifically, which are up to amounts that are for future consideration. That is the improvements at Diamond Valley that have been requested, the New Harmony, specifically the library parking lot request up to an amount, and then, of course, the Vail projects, which we have talked about. The other items are able to proceed.
And so we're approving them with the caveat that Public Works will reach out and coordinate
Yes.
with applicants. Very good. I will second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Let's see, consideration of resolution R-2019-2450, a resolution approving an easement agreement between Washington County and DJAM LLC for access easement to Confluence Park in Laverkin. And I don't see, I'll speak to this motion. I don't see Cameron here. So as you're traveling into Laverkin, right as you cross the bridge, you'll notice that there's a coffee shop and there's also an access to Confluence Park that cuts through some private property that is now going to go into a construction phase. And so this agreement is with the property owners that would allow a pedestrian easement to continue while they would be able to provide safety and fencing in the project while they build some small lodging micro homes or small homes there. And so this was worked out with Cameron and also our attorney's office. And I met with the property owners yesterday, and I think everybody's happy. We'll work with them to provide parking down on the Laverkin. Laverkin has some property not too far away. I figure if they're going to hike, they'll just start their hike another block down the road. But other than that, everything should be fine. So.
Yeah, the hike from where they park to here would
Yeah.
be the flattest part, or the part that they
I'm
would
sure
be
they'll
easily-
complain because they have to walk a little farther, but I figure if they're going to hike down into the river, they might as well.
There's one item on page 2, Eric, on item 7. Tell me when you get there and I'll just ask my question.
Okay.
It's a non-exclusive right for the access easement, and the grantor is the property owner or the county?
The grantor is the property.
And so where it refers lower down, it says, provided that if there's a third-party easement granted, that it does not interfere. And that meaning that the grantee, so not the owner, but that they do not interfere with the right of really themselves or the grantor to use that easement, correct?
Yeah, so what this is getting at is we have a public use that this puts in place, so anybody can access that. If these guys give someone else an easement also, a utility thing for their project,
okay.
They can do that. They can grant additional easements as long as it doesn't unreasonably impair our public for that access.
And it helps the grantor as well because they have parcels on each side of the easement that they want to improve. Basically, they're trying to access them across this easement, and that guarantees them the right and ability to do that. Okay.
Yep. That's good.
Thank you. I move that we, if you're ready for a motion.
Yes, I am.
We approve the resolution R 2019-2450 to approve the easement agreement between Washington County and DJM LLC for an access easement to the Confluence Park in Laverkin.
I will second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. With that, we've come to our commissioner reports. Gil, do you have anything to report?
We met with the CJC today, which is the Children's Justice Center, and there was quite an active discussion on how we would help at the school level in cooperation with the school board to prevent or at least try to deal with the after effects of teen suicide. And they're trying to access some funds that would enable both counselors to be on site at the schools and working in conjunction with the school district as to, whose employee are they, what schools will they be attending, how will they be hired, will they be an employee or a private contractor? All those details are yet to be worked out, but that they need to move it along the path. As you know, the CJC is generally an organization that tries to heal and mend after a child has been abused, or whether there's been some consideration of, an attempted suicide or something like that. But mostly where a crime has been committed. So they have to cross the line to where there hasn't been a crime yet, but they still want to act in a preventive role. So we're working on that, and County Attorney Belknap was there, and he's looking into the possibilities of how we're going to exactly structure that or how it will even work. And of course, if those who supply funds will accept that within their parameters as well. But it's definitely something that needs to happen. I also know that the County Health Department has a coalition of students from many schools, mostly all the high schools, and they worked hard to lobby both all of our representatives in Utah this past session to support the Tobacco 21 initiative, which would prevent smoke shops from selling minors and, anyone under 21 for that matter, and making sure that there's enforcement for that. Recently, they've also wanted to go after another detriment to the health of our teens, and even in elementary school, where in many elementary schools across the nation, they have access to energy drinks, which, as you know, are not strictly regulated by the FDA and have many ingredients in them that are considered herbal in nature, but have just as much a deleterious effect on brain waves and thought pattern and etc. So if this is the launching perhaps on April 2nd of their desire to also categorize them in such a way that a under 18 cannot buy them, and or that they would be supplied at any of the vending machines at schools, is underway, and many studies have been conducted, including how it dovetails into that possibility of the suicide prevention, where several cases across the nation have shown that the actual death or suicide was tied to medically the drinking of these drinks when they weren't prepared physically or even mentally for the results. So perhaps that's not the forum, but that's something that we're working on.
So the health department is going to encourage people not to drink energy drinks.
Or
the teens.
It's a youth group. We're actually going to have them in our next meeting. We couldn't logistically swing it this time, but they're going to come and kind of talk to you.
Well, I can tell you, energy drinks are very addictive and terrible. And I've been trying to quit every morning.
You, right?
So which one do you want to have sitting in front of you when the youth come in, Commissioner?
No, I'm such a hypocrite because I tell my kids constantly, don't drink them. But we were just on a massive road trip, and I had to drink them. So, but they are bad for you, and I'm going to stop. Just like people should stop smoking too.
So you may see that coming forward, and this is a great group of youth, by the way.
Well, if I'm on the health board, I probably ought to quit, right? Join the team effort. My wife will appreciate that. So anyway, well, with that, I'll just report my new commitment to quit drinking energy drinks. And so with that, this behavioral health, I went to a national conference over this last week. It's something that impacts every community across this nation and almost every family, whether it's addiction issues or whether it's, mental issues, depression. These are real. These are These are things that we're dealing with as a society. There's a lot of evidence that things like energy drinks, things like technology are making people even more prone to it. But as a county, we deal with these issues, working with being the local authority for behavioral health and for public health. So thank you for that report. It is expensive. So, well, with that, we'll stand in adjournment and we'll congratulate ourselves on a very efficient meeting.
Thank you.